Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Simon Horton and I am the founder of Negotiation Mastery. And in this short video, I'm going to be talking to my friend and colleague, Mike Reddington. Mike, do you want to tell people what it is you do?
Sure. Very quickly, I am a certified forensic interviewer and executive resource. I'm the president of Inquasive, and I leverage my background in non-confrontational interview and interrogation to turn around and now train executives and HR teams and sales teams how to apply strategic and ethical observation and persuasion techniques with our disciplined listening method.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what Mike and I are doing is we're running a series of short videos where we look at dishonesty in negotiation. A lot, my field is negotiation. A lot of my clients are worried about detecting if the other person is lying or misrepresenting something. And Mike is the expert in that. What we're going to look at in this session, building on some of the things that came up in the previous sessions, is the idea of how do we manage our response? Because as I said in one of the previous sessions, if I think somebody's lied to me, my response is outrage. And I might be able to calm it down a little bit, but I'm an expert in sarcasm. And so that'll be my typical response, which again, isn't a good response either. And I end up not getting my outcome because of that. So Mike, have you got any tips in terms of managing your response?
Well, real quick, now I know why we get along so well. One expert in sarcasm to another. That solves that riddle. And yes, so there's a couple of things to remember first. And we touched on a few of them in our previous conversations. Most of the time, the research is clear when people lie, they're lying to protect themselves, not hurt you. Protect themselves or somebody else. They're not lying to hurt you. So we can use that to start to temper our inner rage or outrage. Also, we talked about the importance of really keeping our eye on the prize. What's the goal we're trying to achieve? What's the value we're trying to create? And if someone's lied to us, okay, that's a new road to take. How do we take that road to get there?
Yeah.
So let's think of a few other things. First, the number one fear that stops most people from doing most things is not failure. It's embarrassment.
Okay.
Feeling judged. And the number one reason why most adults will be dishonest most of the time is a fear of consequence. And that consequence could be real or perceived. Embarrassment being a shining example of one of them. So when we talk about controlling our reaction, we've already talked a little bit, eye on the prize, stay the course. They're not trying to hurt you. How do we use this new alternative to our advantage? But on the flip side, it's helpful to it helps us, stay calm when we can do a better job trying to understand where they're coming from. So if you think that someone is lying to you, just stop and think, well, wait a minute. Are they trying to avoid embarrassment? Are they trying to save face? If that's what they're doing, can't blame them. And then what's the consequence they're trying to avoid? Is it losing money? Is it getting a deal that they're going to regret? Is it trying to save face in front of their colleagues or coworkers? In negotiation, if we're trying to create a new agreement with somebody and they have to turn around and tell somebody else they have a relationship with that they're not going to do business together anymore, that could be a big enough fear, a big enough consequence not to be completely honest with us. So really embracing the fact that they're most likely not trying to hurt us. There is likely some fear of consequence that's driving the potential dishonesty. Embarrassment being the leader in the clubhouse most often.
Yeah. And
it's the last good decision they thought they had. Okay, so now let's try to make that positive and work with it.
So if you can kind of if you're thinking, okay, they're lying. Why they're lying? Oh, because they might be embarrassed about this, or they're worried about this other thing that might happen. And then maybe it's the face idea or whatever. Then if you can try and work with that and maybe draw it out and say, listen, maybe you're worried about X or something like that, and bring that out in the open. Would you recommend doing that?
That is a potential path. One of the things we talk about is when people give us an excuse, it drives us up a wall sideways. But when they give us the excuse, that means they're willing to talk about what we want, just under the terms of the excuse.
Yes.
So instead of getting angry and throwing away the excuse or calling them out on the excuse, we embrace the excuse. Let them start by unpacking the excuse because that's what they want to talk about. And then we can use that to lead us around the back door, if you will, in order to get what we want. The same thing with dishonesty. If we think somebody is giving us a dishonest explanation or a dishonest reason, again, I default to sarcasm as well. So one of the things I've got to really try to do is make sure I follow up with a curious tone, because questions can be perceived as invitations or attacks. So I want to come back as curious, not attacking, and just ask follow-up questions and let them start to unpack that statement they just gave us. And as they unpack it, they're either going to expose their own dishonesty, problem solved, or they're going to give us another crack. Like they'll speak to their motivation, or they'll speak to their reason, or they'll give us another avenue that we can walk in. So when we talk about listening for intelligence over information, information is they lied.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we going to do about that? But the intelligence is, why did they lie? Where are they going? That's what we can work with.
And what exactly, and what exactly can we work with, and how do we work with it? So it's difficult though, isn't it? We have our automatic kind of gut response, our emotional response. How dare you lie, or whatever. And if it's let's say it's email, I can generally calm myself down and typically outrage, how dare you? And then I go down to sarcasm, and then I go down to logic, and then I go, okay, no, I need to address the underlying thing. And then I can get the result I'm after. But that can take me a long time. That can take me 24 hours plus, in some instances, years. Yeah. How can we go through that process from gut response to optimum response in the moment? What can help in that?
I say this quasi-jokingly, but I mean it 100%. Whatever the first words are that come into your mind, swallow them. Don't say them. Yeah. Because there's a reasonable likelihood that they address how we feel, and they're not going to help the situation. So swallow the first words that come to mind. Oftentimes for me, I'll buy myself a few seconds by either saying okay or thank you, whichever one I feel like is more appropriate in the moment. That buys me just a couple seconds to reframe my mindset on what's important. Why am I here? What's the goal? What am I trying to achieve? And then I really try to frame my response around the goal instead of the reaction.
Yeah. Okay. I like that idea of some kind of cue that you can do that buys you time, which then your brain can quickly process. What am I trying to achieve? Oh yeah, I'm trying to get a good outcome here. Okay, don't go down my automatic response. What's my best response? Have you come across the work of Timothy Galway, In a Game of Tennis?
I don't know that I have.
So he was a tennis coach, and he was one of the first people who brought psychology to the game of tennis. Mm-hmm. And he saw that some of his clients, if they played a bad shot, that would be it. That would be the end of it. They go, you're terrible. You always mess up. And they'd spiral downwards. The next shot will be worse, and so on. Some of them had selective amnesia and moved on really nicely and calmly. And the next shot was a good shot. And so what he taught the ones that went wrong, is basically he called it the stop process, which is firstly, step back, think, what is it you're trying to do here, etc. Organize anything that you need to do to get back into the right frame of mind, and then proceed. And it's a kind of a construct that helps, instead of going stimulus, automatic response, it's stimulus, hold on, what's going on here? What is it I want to do? Why? How do I need to do it? Right, now respond, kind of thing. And it's nice. And I think it's not always necessary that we crack it instantly, but if we keep working on that, we do get better and better at it.
I love it. I love it. And in these negotiations and conversations, we can think about any statement, true or false, as just another move on the board. They made their move, we make our next move. And if we detach emotionally from it as much as possible, we'll be more successful.
Yeah, nice. And now you can integrate it into your negotiation strategy nicely. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much, Mike. Again, absolutely fabulous stuff. We got one more session that we're going to do, and that is, how do we then react, or how do we respond? We've managed our reaction. How do we then respond and get to make sure that we do get our best outcome from the conversation?
Looking forward to it.